Hey guys, Chris here with Work2Game, and actually kind of surrounding another announcement that's coming out tomorrow. I have been playing more games that have mods lately. I've been playing Minecraft, I've been playing a tiny bit of like Factorio and all these other games that have mods, and as I get into more MMOs and I consider things like, wow, you know, are there things that I wish were different about Final Fantasy, I realize there's a huge difference between Final Fantasy and games like World of Warcraft, where there's like a known API. There is almost no ability to develop mods, and as I become more involved in the game this patch cycle, one of the things I'm really frustrated about is where UI changes are specific to me. I don't expect them to make changes across the board to all people, but when I go to focus on a certain aspect of the game, like I go to look for sightseeing logs, and there's no ability to kind of make those appear and like maybe make a little noise for me when I'm close to one because I'm out in the world, and that is something that's important to me. And there's no ability to see DPS meters. And I know that's a controversial topic, but like that there's no ability for me to get access to that data for my own self, even if I couldn't see other people's DPS. There's no ability for me to do easy things for tracking hunts or any of that stuff outside of the interfaces they designed it to fit all players. And one of the things I think is really interesting about mod development is that you can have 6 or 7 different mods, and when a platform chooses to carry mods, even think about like an iPhone. An iPhone has all these apps, and these apps add functionality to the device itself beyond what the native OS has within its settings. And some of those things they've been over the years, the original kind of flashlight app and different alarm clocks and all these things, and some of them end up rolling native because they say, wow, that's a good idea, and we can go ahead and build that into our OS. It can run more seamlessly, it can run better, it can maybe even expand on some existing functionality. And so they have even more power to absorb that. And that's kind of a bummer if that app developer was making money off that app, but it's good for us, the consumer. And so they kind of get these free junior developers, if you will, that are going out there and trying all this stuff. And maybe they're monetizing it, maybe they're not, but the platform itself is not the one paying them. And so when you look at things like Final Fantasy, if there were an API to help you do things like manage guilds or currencies, there's 1,000 different currencies, so that you could kind of set daily reminders on what's important to you, and not just the recommended list, but really start to build into things like tracking all the different fishing. And you know, there's so many times that I pull up a browser in addition to my game to check things that could all be in game, but I would want to be able to layer that on. And the Mac client and the PlayStation client, I expect to get left behind on those because PlayStation doesn't really allow that community to take hold. But on the PC client, I do expect there to be a significant number of mods and a clearer relationship between Square Enix and developers that want to make third-party apps that can help manage things, scan their auction house to kind of allow you to see where things are buying and selling. What are there things that are selling below vendor price? Can I go out and buy all those out and shoot them over? I don't think of these as bad things. But that's because I come from years and years of World of Warcraft playing, where you had this huge mod list of things that you had done, where you'd laid in your own custom UI, and you had all these different things that supplement what the interface can already do, what the settings can already do, what your bindings can already do, macros can already do. There is a lot of power in what the developers do, but that is only one viewpoint. And so from my perspective, I would think there needs to be the ability to have other viewpoints from all over the spectrum of players, and that as long as none of us are hacking the system, that's great. You know, if there was something to kind of help you garden, or like, you know, just kind of expand on mouse over stuff, expand on kind of how you're crafting, and give you tips along the way, you know, maybe even just UI things that say when something goes off, make it a little clearer to me, boss mechanics. You know, as we get into things where you have more and more expansions of content that you're being tossed back into when you go into kind of level synced content, it would be nice to have something that reminded you certain stuff is incoming. So stuff like deadly boss mods comes to mind. Having things like that on the client help people perform at that higher level, helping people optimize their rotations, helping people optimize all the things you can think of. This is something that I don't think the interface and UI team could ever keep up with, because it's not that there's one shoe that fits all. I think they've done a wonderful job designing a pretty good shoe that fits most of us pretty well all the time. But it'd be great if you could find something that just rubs you in that wrong way that could just fix it for you. But I really wanted to put this up here because that's just my opinion, and I understand that there is a significant community out there that this has always been their primary MMO, and this has always been their primary game experience. And so going out and playing other games that openly admit that, yes, this is our base game, but yes, it's meant to be modded, and it is meant to be expanded and made personal, that's not the community they've ever been drawn to. And so I know that there's probably a fair amount of logical and reasonable pushback against this, and I just kind of wanted to start that conversation and see if you guys had any opinions on, should Final Fantasy be better about allowing modifications, or should it stay rigid and firm on controlling everything? Everything rolls through Yoshi P, and it's Yoshi P's game, and it needs to be played, interpreted, and experienced only in the way that he planned for that. And maybe there's something in between. So this has been Chris with Work to Game. I just wanted to toss that out there. It was something that had been running through my mind this week, and I just kind of wondered where you guys fell on it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for watching this video. If you want to check out any other videos, you should click over here. And then we've got like some kind of vlog thing down here in the corner. And then we've got like subscribe. Have you yeah, like that's really, you should totally do it. This was a complete disaster.